Ethan Ward had never imagined life would shrink into a two-room rented apartment and the constant hum of exhaustion. But after losing his wife and taking full custody of his 8-year-old son Mason, survival had become his daily mission. Every morning began before dawn, Ethan tying his worn work boots, packing Mason's lunch, and whispering silent promises to the picture of his late wife on the fridge, promises that he would somehow give their son the life she dreamed of. He worked long hours as a mechanic, barely making ends meet, while Mason spent afternoons at the community center. It wasn't much, but it kept their little world intact, until the day a girl with a metal leg walked into their lives and changed everything forever. It started on a quiet Tuesday evening. The sky was streaked in soft orange as Ethan hurried to pick Mason from the center, wiping motor grease from his fingers. He found Mason sitting on the bench outside, swinging his legs impatiently. "Dad, you're late," Mason said, though his smile softened the words. "Yeah, buddy, rough day at the shop," Ethan muttered, ruffling his hair. Then he noticed her. A girl sitting a few benches away, maybe 14, maybe 15, with long, dark hair tied in a low ponytail. Her left pant leg rolled up to reveal a polished prosthetic limb, silver and smooth. She was sketching something furiously, as if afraid the world might disappear before she captured it. What surprised Ethan wasn't the leg, it was her expression. She didn't look sad or frustrated or lost. She looked determined, focused, fierce. Mason tugged Ethan's hand. "That's Aria," he whispered. "She started coming here last week. She doesn't talk much." As they walked past her, Ethan caught a glimpse of her drawing. It was the playground, but brighter, more alive. Kids laughing, sun glowing, swings soaring. A world more colorful than the one in front of them. Something about it tugged at him. And apparently at Mason, too, because the next day, while Ethan was again late, he found Mason sitting with Aria on the bench. She was quietly sketching while Mason watched in awe. "Dad, she draws like she has magic in her hands," Mason said proudly. Aria didn't look up, but a tiny smile flickered at the corner of her lips. That was the beginning. Over the next few days, Mason became a permanent fixture beside her, telling her goofy jokes, asking endless questions, and talking about superheroes. Aria rarely answered, but she always listened, and that alone seemed to brighten Mason's day. Ethan would sometimes sit with them too, though awkwardly. Each time he noticed more the way she flinched when loud groups passed, the way she carefully hid the mechanical clicking of her leg, the way she kept adjusting her sleeve as if hiding something beneath it, and the way she never had anyone come pick her up. One rainy evening, Ethan found Mason pacing outside the center in panic. Dad, Aria didn't come out. She's still inside, but they locked the door early because of the storm. She's scared of thunder. Ethan didn't stop to question how Mason knew this. He knocked until the janitor opened, irritated but cooperative. They found Aria sitting alone in a corner, hugging her backpack tightly, trying to pretend she wasn't trembling every time. Lightning cracked across the sky. When she saw Mason, relief washed across her face. When she saw Ethan, hesitation flickered, but she stood up. "Come on, kiddo," Ethan said gently. "We'll get you home." She shook her head violently, taking a step back. "I'm fine." "You're shaking," Mason said softly. "And Dad has an old truck. It's loud enough to scare the storm away." That made her smile, barely. Ethan insisted on driving her. She resisted until the next thunderclap shook the building, then nodded. During the drive, Aria kept staring out the window, her metal leg tapping nervously against the truck floor. Ethan asked where she lived, but she just whispered, "I'll tell you when we're close," and that was his first clue. The second clue was when she directed him to a worn-down foster home on the far edge of town, a house with peeling paint, a sagging porch, and tired voices leaking through the windows. She got out quickly, murmured a soft thank you, and rushed inside before anyone could see her being dropped off. Ethan sat there for a long time in the rain, feeling something twist in his chest. The girl wasn't just quiet. She was surviving. The days that followed stitched her into their lives even more. She started smiling more, small ones, subtle ones, but real. She laughed once too, when Mason tripped over his own backpack and blamed gravity, a soft musical laugh that startled even her. Ethan found himself buying extra snacks, by accident, knowing she would accept them only if Mason offered. He found himself waiting an extra minute when picking up Mason, just to make sure Arya got picked up too, except she never did. One afternoon, when the center closed early again, Arya stood outside alone. Ethan approached gently. "Your foster home isn't coming?" She shrugged. "Sometimes they forget." Ethan's jaw tightened. "You can wait with us." She hesitated, then nodded. That day, something shifted. She talked for the first time. Not much, but enough for Ethan to learn pieces of her story. Her leg, lost in an accident when she was 8. Her mother, gone. Her father, unknown. Homes, many too many. Friends, none. And dreams, one to become an artist. "But it's stupid," she whispered. "People don't want art from someone broken." Ethan's heart cracked. "Hey," he said firmly, "nothing about you is broken." She looked at him then, really looked at him, with an expression he couldn't quite understand. Respect, hope? Something fragile, something that scared him because of how deeply it hit. Week by week, Arya became a constant in their tiny family routine. She came over for dinner sometimes, always shy, always polite, always overwhelmed when she realized she wasn't in the way. She helped Mason with homework, though she insisted she wasn't smart. She painted small pictures for Ethan to hang on their wall, and she started talking to him more. About the world, about art, about how people stared at her leg but never asked what happened. About how she wanted someone to actually see her, not the prosthetic. Ethan understood more than he wished he did. One Saturday morning, while Mason was playing in the park, Ethan sat beside Arya on the bench. She was sketching again, a little family of 3. A father, a son, and a girl with a metal leg, but the girl in the drawing smiled brighter than the sun. "Is that us?" Ethan asked. She paused. I draw what I wish for," she murmured. "Not what is." Ethan's chest tightened. Before he could speak, Arya quickly closed the sketchbook, embarrassed. "Sorry, it's nothing," but it wasn't nothing. That picture stayed with him all night. 2 weeks later, everything fell apart, and then came together. Arya didn't show up at the center. Not the next day. Not the one after. On the 4th day, Mason broke into tears. "Dad, something's wrong." "I know it." Ethan had the same feeling eating at him. He drove to the foster house. When he knocked, the woman who opened the door looked irritated. "Arya?" she said. "She ran away 3 days ago." Kids like her, they do that. Ethan felt his blood run cold. Without thinking, he searched the streets, parks, alleys, libraries, bus stops. Night fell. Hours passed. Then he found her, sitting alone behind the community center, hugging her knees, her metal legs scraped and bleeding where she had fallen. Ethan ran to her, kneeling beside her. "Arya," he breathed, "I've been looking everywhere." She flinched. "I thought you wouldn't care if I disappeared." "Why would you think that?" She swallowed hard. "Because everyone stops caring eventually." Ethan gently lifted her chin. "Not me, not Mason, you."
"Matter, Arya. You matter more than you know." And right there,
under the streetlight, she broke. She admitted she overheard her foster family planning to send her to another home, that she ran because she was tired of being unwanted, that she didn't want to lose the only people who ever made her feel human. Ethan hugged her then, careful, gentle, protective, and Arya sobbed into his chest like a child who'd held the world together for too long. After that night, Ethan called social services himself. He told them he wanted to apply for temporary guardianship. They hesitated, but when they saw how Arya clung to Mason and how she softened around Ethan, they agreed to review his case. Weeks passed, filled with interviews, background checks, home visits. And something beautiful happened during those weeks. Ethan found himself cooking 2 lunches instead of 1. Mason started calling Arya my almost sister, and Arya began to glow. She laughed more. She talked more. She wore brighter clothes instead of oversized hoodies. She painted the apartment walls with small murals, each one bursting with color and hope. She stopped hiding her metal leg. She walked with confidence. She became family, long before the paperwork caught up. One evening, the final decision arrived in an envelope. Hands shaking, Ethan opened it. Approved. Temporary guardianship. Granted. Full adoption review pending. Ethan looked at Arya. She held her breath, terrified. "You're staying with us," he said softly. She froze. Then she burst into tears and threw her arms around him. "I have a home," she whispered. Ethan whispered back, "You always did." Months later, something even more extraordinary happened. Arya submitted one of her paintings, a portrait of a girl with a metal leg standing tall to a national young artists competition. She won first place. When she stood on that stage, lights shining on her, applause thunderous, Mason yelled from the audience, "That's my sister!" And Ethan, clapping with tears in his eyes, realized something profound. He thought he was the one rescuing her, but she was the one who healed him. She brought color into a house that had forgotten how to smile. She brought hope to a man who thought his life had ended with his wife's death. She brought laughter back to Mason. She brought love back to their broken family. The girl with the metal leg changed their lives forever. Not because she needed saving, but because she showed them what courage looked like, what resilience looked like, what family truly meant. And from that day forward, the little 2-room apartment was no longer small. It was home because Arya was in it, because she belonged, because she was loved forever.